Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at the F-16C in Sim. If you've played Sim top tier against the Americans in the past like 6 months or so, you'll probably have very fond memories of this thing. It was the absolute bane of your existence if you were playing on the red side. And the simple reason is the combination of the best avionics, awesome flight performance, and, in my opinion, the best IR guided missile in the entire game. As you can see here in the footage, I am using one of my Sparrows to take care of a Gripen up at high altitude. This is one of the ways you can actually deal with Gripens if they're stupid enough to sort of come up here. You can take them out with your superior radar-guided missiles, as the Gripen obviously doesn't really get any that are worth mentioning. At least until the next update, where we're probably, if the rumors are true, going to get a certain radar-guided missile that everyone's been waiting for a very long time. And if that does happen, the whole balance is going to sort of get shifted around anyway. Or not, maybe, if they don't get rid of multipathing. We might be in the same situation that we are in now. You never know. However, with all of the F-15s and the Su-27s and the Gripens being added to the game since Christmas, is this thing still top dog? That is the question. And the short answer is, of course, no. The Gripen is, because the Gripen's a big baby plane that holds your hand as you fly, and you can't make any mistakes. And if you genuinely think that you're good at the game because now all of a sudden you have a KD that's above 2 because you're playing in the most overpowered plane in the game, even though you swear that you're not, you should really reevaluate how good you think you are at this game. Anyway, apart from all of that, is this thing a bad plane? Absolutely not. No, I'd still actually say the F-16C is right now probably the second best plane in Sim. Now, when you compare this to the F-16A models, this thing does take a little bit of a hit to its flight performance. Don't worry, you're still going to be able to outmaneuver Russian planes, no problem. Don't worry about that. I think the MiG-29 913 and the 912, so that is the MiG-29G flight model. I think it can actually slightly outrate this thing, but these are these are tiny margins, and when you're talking about margins that are this small between aircraft, it basically just comes down to your weapon load, your fuel load more than anything else that when you meet each other in an EC match. Then it also comes a little bit down to the pilot, how good they are at rating around a circle and stuff like that. And then obviously, eventually you can't just rate fight. Eventually you have to turn in and pull them into the HUD, and that's going to bleed a little bit of speed as well, of course. And that's where the issues with this thing sort of come in, and over the A models. And it's that when you do those hard maneuvers where you pull a bunch of AOA, this thing is going to bleed a significant amount of speed. Now, you can, like I said, if you're at high speed doing rate, the whole rate thing, high speed turning, energy retention, stuff like that is still on point. It's an F-16 at the end of the day, but because of the increased weight that this thing has over the A models, when you get into those slow maneuvers, those high AOA sort of turns and stuff, you are going to bleed more speed, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get it back. However, the F-16C sits in a pretty good spot in Sim due to the fact that it doesn't actually need to dogfight, and that's down to the fact that it gets the M9M along with a really good radar. The TWS mode on this is a little bit buggy, and I might touch on that a little bit later, but the combination of having a super good radar, or just in general I should say super good situational awareness, because the RWR plays a part in that as well, and having these invisible missiles and good speed on the deck means you can catch people, you can just fly up to people without them even sort of knowing that you're there. The Russian RWR on most planes absolutely sucks for top tier, so it's very easy to sort of just, if you kind of know what you're doing, it's very easy to sneak around and just not be found by people and just fire an A9M at them. And you've seen this like several times in the video now. I just fly up to people, fire an A9M, they have no clue it's coming, they have no clue I'm even there, and I get rewarded with the kill for like minimal effort, just kind of like how I just killed that Su-27 there. I know he was a little bit distracted by the Gripen, but even if he was looking directly at me, he would have had to have thought, that could be an F-16, because obviously his RWR doesn't tell him. I should probably start pre-flaring right now, because there could be an A9M on the way. And if he only has like a couple of flares or whatever, it can be very sort of tricky to sort of, okay, I know the flanker gets 96, but it's like, you don't have an unlimited amount of flares. You can't always be pre-flaring, and this is, the F-16C sort of benefits from this. By the way, look at me sort of engaging these two guys there. There goes the R-27ER into the ground. I still don't know why people think that thing is overpowered, because you can simply just dodge it by flying as low as this, and they can't touch you, so I don't know what people are sort of whinging about when it comes to that missile. And Yeah, but I merged with the second guy there. I'm hoping the Gripen still sort of like stays around to help me out because I don't have any missiles at this point, so I'm down to my guns, and dealing with two people with guns can be a little bit tricky. However, I do end up killing one of them pretty damn quickly, and I look at the kill feed and see that my teammate has taken out the other one because, of course, he's in a Gripen. Still, it is nice to, you know, have teammates for once. In this next clip here, I think it's another one of those situations that sort of the F-16C just sort of benefits from, you know, I should say, and it's very hard to sort of deal with for the other dude, especially if they're in the plane that they are going to be in here. So, as you can see on the radar, I was tracking someone in this like little valley here. I put my radar down there just to sort of try and find them again. I'm getting a few RWR pings, so I do have to be kind of careful, but I have a bit of time because the RWR tells me that they're, you know, they're still like 20 miles away. I find him in this little valley here. I see that he's actually turning around. I lock him up with the AIM-9M. I fire it off. He has absolutely no clue that it's coming. He doesn't even think to flare. Now, if that was an AIM-9L that I had to fire at him with the smoke trail and he would have seen it, he would have instinctively flared. Because that's just how our brains kind of work, right? And it wouldn't have been difficult because it's head-on, and the M9L, sorry, isn't that amazing at countering flares, especially from that kind of aspect. But he didn't even think to flare because he never even saw the missile coming. So, you know, and in my opinion, you can't expect players to just constantly dump out flares at any given point if they're flying a plane that only gets like 60 of the things, you know what I mean? Anyway, when I heard that launch notification there, my spidey sense was tingling because I had a gut feeling that the launch notification was a little bit late there, and then that he actually had fired off his Sparrow before I fired off mine, which means that his Sparrow would have reached me before mine reached his, which obviously, you know, means I would have been dead. So I decided to break the lock, try and duck below the mountain, and, you know, try and sort of break line of sight and sort of pop back up over the mountain. But I did lose sight. It seems like he lost sight of me as well. So we are kind of just playing a little bit of peekaboo in the mountains. I'm staying like slightly above the ridgeline, which maybe I shouldn't be doing, but I was just kind of like very eager to just to find him. But look, on the RWR, you saw M29 right behind me. Now this wasn't the guy that was locking onto me. However, you know, there's some sort of Russian plane behind me, and I need to now go deal with that. I duck below the mountain, behind the mountain, going right, and then once I break line of sight, I quickly turn to the left. So probably, hopefully, the guy that was tracking me would have thought that I would have continued to go right. I don't think he actually falls for it, and I think he's going to pop up over here in any second now. And you can see I switch over into wide angle scan there, and I do actually end up picking him up. Now his RWR, if he is in a flanker, which I think he is, he does actually end up seeing me there. He's not going to see that RWR ping show up as an F-16, so it's not going to be as obvious for him that I've spotted him. This is why you can, if you fly the Americans, keep your radar on a little bit more, like as opposed to when you fly Russia. Now, I think this guy made the classic flanker mistake of just bleeding all of your speed in one turn, and as we come to the second merge here, you can see I'm so much faster than him. I sort of make note of this, and I go up into the vertical, meaning that it would be difficult for him to follow me. You can see he kind of tries to pull the nose up, but he just doesn't have enough speed in the R-73. He just kind of doesn't do anything because it's a head-on aspect, and I just flared it off and end up getting him with the AIM-9M. The point is, when you're fighting flankers, they seem very scary because they have R-73s, but really the only thing you need to do is it's all about speed control when you're flying, when you're fighting flankers, especially in the F-16. You don't want to be too fast because then you'll extend too much and then they'll just get an R-73 off on you, and you don't want to be too slow because the flanker's slow speed performance is actually better than yours in the F-16, and then he'll probably win that as well. So you want to maintain around 800 kilometers an hour and just sort of like just fly a circle around him, and eventually he's going to run out of energy and not really do anything, be able to do anything, and it doesn't really take long to do it. The flanker, most flanker pilots don't really know how to fly the planes, so you're going to be pretty safe most of the time. Now, speaking of flankers, I did just take out another one, and you can see on the RWR there are people sort of gunning for me behind me, but I'm also at Mach 1.3, and I just decided, hey, I don't need to fight these guys. The F-16C is very, very fast down on the deck, and that's due because it does get a new engine. Obviously, top speed isn't really affected as much by weight as much as maneuvering is. So if you don't want to dogfight, if you're not very confident in your dogfighting ability, just, you know, get a map with a bunch of terrain like Afghanistan or whatever, and just go around at high speed and just, you know, bomb through furballs, just launch AIM-9Ms at people. Make sure you're launching them at the enemies though. No team killing. Way too many people don't pay attention to what they're actually shooting at. And you know, you're gonna end up getting a bunch of kills because just because of the way the A9M works. And you know, that's another guy who had absolutely no clue it was coming. You know, see, it's relatively easy to fly this plane. I'd say it's very easy to fly this plane, providing you have some like basic knowledge on how to play top tier EC, right? Now, when it comes to the loadout that you should be taking, it's basically the choice between the four sidewinders and 2 Sparrows, or the 6 sidewinders. And I would say the stronger choice would probably be the 6 AIM-9Ms, just because they're just overall they're just a better missile. The Sparrows are nice to have. I definitely like having Sparrows, especially for shots like this that are just a little bit long range. Plus, I do kind of like having some long range combat every now and then as well. But I think you know, if you were to like sort of play this game like competitively, you know what I mean. In other words, like, you really want to win. If you were playing for money or something, you know, you would want the 6 AIM-9M. But the Sparrows definitely have their uses as well, and they are worth a try. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm kind of like airfield camping a little bit, it's because we kind of drove out the enemy team, and there were only like 2 guys left, and we just kind of wanted the match to end. So I'm sorry, but blame the game, not the player, right? This is just the way sim is, and it does happen a lot if you play on the American team, just because it is so, in my opinion, well, I think it's just it's an objective reality. The American team is just a lot stronger than the Russian team in general. Earlier I said I might touch on the TWS a little bit, and I do just kind of want to mention some things. The TWS mode there's nothing wrong with the design of it. However, I do think it's a little bit bugged. Now, where most TWS modes in this game, the radars have been a little bit weird ever since the last update, you know, where they show you like ghost signals and stuff like that, and the TWS modes have been jumping from target to target and whatever a lot on a lot of different planes, and it just seems to be a lot worse than the F-16C for some reason, at least in my sort of experience. So that's something that it doesn't hinder the plane in any way. It doesn't make this thing magically balanced now, but it's definitely worth mentioning, and it can be quite annoying though. But if it's that annoying, just turn the radar off and use your helmet mounted sight, you know. Now, that was the end of the match there. I did take out the surveillance aircraft there to just finish it. Final score was 13-1. You can see, as opposed to my last video, which was on the flanker, the F-16, it's a lot easier to stay alive in the F-16 than it is in the flanker, just because of the avionics and the situational awareness increase that you have in just American planes in general. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. If you're looking for a sim-orientated Discord server to join and sort of potentially make some friends and find some people to play with, then my Discord server is linked in the description, of course. We already have I think like almost 300 members now, so we're sort of getting there. It's a nice little server. If you're interested in that kind of thing, we'd love to have you. Apart from that, thank you very much for watching, guys. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next one.